Good morning and aloha to everybody listening in. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I am Congressman Ed Case. I represent Hawaii's 1st Congressional District, which is the city of Honolulu from Makapu'u all the way through downtown out to Mililani Maka to Wahiawa and back down through Waipahu, Ewa Beach, Kapolei, Ko'olina. Congressman Kai Kahele is my colleague in Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District, but for all intents and purposes, we both represent the entire state and try to help you with each and all of your issues in Washington, D.C. Today, we want to talk with you about how we provide economic growth and opportunities, especially for some of our communities who don't always have ready access to the technical knowledge and working capital and expertise and financial assistance that other communities do. And so these would be some of our communities that can most use economic development. And that is by the way, before I go any further, I forgot I need to give you all the disclaimer that we are recording this session just for our own purposes so that we can use it in other ways. So you should know that it's being recorded. Our federal government tries many ways to assist disadvantaged communities to provide economic opportunity. But one of our critical ways to do that is through our Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, or our CDFI fund for short. The CDFI fund is charged with generating economic growth and opportunity for our communities in need. And they do that by offering tailored and innovative programs that invest federal dollars and expertise alongside private sector capital. So this is a public-private partnership and assists financial institutions that specialize in community development to provide that expertise with federal support. This is a key area from my perspective for many of our communities throughout our country and our Hawaii. And I serve on the U.S. House Appropriations Committee, which is responsible for all federal discretionary funding, about $1.5 trillion per year. And I have particularly tried to focus on sustaining and expanding the CDFI fund and its programming because I believe in their mission and I believe that they do incredible work and needed work throughout our country. But in the same breath, I will also say that I think that here in Hawaii, although we have institutions and communities very much relying upon and doing good work with the CDFI fund, the fund itself and what it does is not widely known. And so my goal in this presentation today is to get a much broader level of knowledge, information, and participation on the CDFI fund so that we can take full advantage of that here in Hawaii. It's been particularly critical that we do that during COVID-19 because, of course, here in Hawaii, we had one of the most economically distressed results from COVID-19 in the entire country. We are still recovering from that, and federal institutions that have helped us to recover have been really critical. The CDFI fund has been one of those. In the Consolidated Appropriations Act that we passed in 2021, we provided about $1.25 billion to the CDFI fund and saw somewhere in the range of 10-11 million of that come to Hawaii. We have now in Hawaii 11 CDFIs. So these are organizations that are qualified to be CDFI institutions. They know how to do it. They know how to work with you. And I would like to expand that universe of organizations. Many of them will be familiar to you, and I'm just going to read who they are. Some of them, perhaps you didn't realize they were CDFIs, but the goal here is, number one, get more CDFIs, and number two, get more people working with our CDFIs. So here they are. The Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, specializing in our Native Hawaiian community. The Hawaii Central Federal Credit Union, the Hawaii Community Lending Company, the Hawaii Community Reinvestment Corporation, the Hawaii Federal Credit Union, Hawaii First Federal Credit Union, Hawaii Habitat for Humanity Association, focusing especially on our homeless population, HHOC Mortgage, Kauai Government Employees Federal Credit Union, Le Ho'olaha Molokai Community Federal Credit Union. We have specialized programs in the CDFI fund focused on our indigenous communities throughout our country. And these are called native serving CDFIs. Native Hawaiians, of course, are the indigenous peoples of our country and are fully participating in native serving CDFIs. And so several of these institutions are focused on our Native Hawaiian community. And we definitely want to assist from that perspective. With that, sorry, I'm at home and I got to do one quick thing here. Good morning. Hey, yeah, you are. My wife will come right out in a second. Okay, thanks a lot. The beauties of doing work from home, a little home improvement. I'm really, really happy to introduce to you all today Jody Harris, who is the director of the U.S. Department of Treasury CDFI Fund. So she runs the CDFI Fund throughout the entire country. And we were talking some time ago about trying to get her out to Hawaii to present to you all. And of course, COVID-19 has made that unfeasible for now. But she joins us from Washington, D.C., or right outside Washington, D.C. Director Harris has been in the private sector and in the government sector for, I think, 30 plus years, as I recall. 25 years in the private sector in terms of credit, focusing on communities in need. She's been part of Treasury and CDFI since 2007 and has risen through the ranks to run the fund. She's originally from Philadelphia, undergrad at University of Maryland, MBA and MPA from NYU, New York University. And so I'm really happy to turn this over to her. I'm going to listen in for a little while, but I'm going to have to go deal with some home improvement. I also want to, and she's going to run the show from now, so she'll give you a presentation. There'll be plenty of time for questions. And the one person I do want to introduce to you is Mitch Heidenreich, who is my legislative assistant in Washington, D.C. He specializes in small businesses and CDFI in particular. He organized this, and he is the fastest way into my office with any questions whatsoever that you have. Please contact Mitch. He put his contact information in the chat. Also, before I leave you, my website, case.house.gov. Case.house.gov is the easiest way into my office. We look forward to helping out with CDFIs and anything else that you need. And so with that, Director Harris, I am again very, very grateful for you to take the time to spend with us out here in Hawaii. I'm sorry, it's virtual. I think you were telling me that the temperature right now is 24 degrees, and unfortunately we are a little higher than that right here. But over to you, Director, and thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much, Representative Case. I actually just checked the weather. It went up to 36. So there's some progress there. But many thanks for inviting me virtually today for the opportunity to discuss the CDFI Fund and the impact that the CDFI Fund has had in the state of Hawaii. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I do this right here. Hopefully everyone can see that. Please let me know in the chat if you cannot. So just a little background on the CDFI Fund. The CDFI Fund was established in 1994, and our mission has been to expand economic opportunity for underserved people and communities by supporting the growth and capacity of a national network of community development lenders, investors, and financial services providers. To do that, the CDFI Fund invests and provides assistance to community development financial institutions, or as Representative Case said, CDFIs, that's what we call all of them, to counter disinvestment that has occurred in distressed and underserved areas. CDFIs serve as the gateway to capital and credit in communities not traditionally served by banks and other lenders. So the first most important question is, what are community development financial institutions? So from the list of 11 CDFIs that we have, CDFIs can be banks, credit unions, loan funds, which are typically nonprofit, and venture capital funds. CDFI funds are mission-based and community-focused lending organizations. They expand economic opportunity for primarily low-income communities. CDFIs share a common goal of facilitating economic opportunity in distressed or underserved areas across the country. Today, and I believe it might even be more than this as of the end of December, but there are more than 1,300 CDFIs serving rural, urban, and Native communities throughout the United States. You can find a CDFI in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, Guam, and Puerto Rico. CDFIs in general, this whole network, is a collaborative force. They bring together private and public sector investors, philanthropy, large-scale financial institutions, government entities beyond the CDFI fund and treasury, but entities such as USDA and HUD, and community-based stakeholders to deploy capital where it's needed most and where it can have the most impact. So the next question you may be asking is, what do CDFIs do? CDFIs help families finance their first homes, support small businesses, startup businesses, establish and rebuild credit histories, and invest in local education and community facilities, as well as provide financial services and training. The CDFI fund supports this work by providing grants and other types of financial assistance, as well as technical assistance. In fiscal year 2021, we provided nearly $1.5 billion in monetary awards and loans. We committed to guaranteeing $100 million in bonds, and we allocated $5 billion in new markets tax credits. I'll go into those programs a little bit later. And again, feel free to pop questions in the chat or send them over to Mitch. But in general, the CDFI Fund Award recipients have successfully leveraged billions of private sector investment to create jobs, build affordable housing, build essential community facilities, provide financial counseling, and overall invest in neighborhood revitalization, all in distressed or underserved communities that lack access to traditional lending or banking institutions. So what makes a CDFI? Let's talk a little bit about certification. To become certified, an organization must submit a CDFI certification application to the CDFI Fund for review and approval. The organization must demonstrate that it meets 7 requirements. The first is to be a legal entity at the time that you certify. While we do provide technical assistance, we provide technical assistance to organizations that are operating. They may not yet be CDFIs, but they are legal entities and have been operating. You will have to have a primary mission of promoting community development. You will also have to state that you are primarily serving one or more target markets. And what that means is we have 3 different target markets where a CDFI can designate that they will dedicate 60% or more of their lending to these areas. With that lending, you have to be a financial institution or a financing entity. Of course, banks and credit unions are regulated, so they automatically pass the test. But if you are a nonprofit loan fund, you will have to demonstrate that you are in the business of providing loans and investment. You'll have to demonstrate that those loans and investments are accountable and that your organization is accountable to the target markets that you designated. In addition to that, you'll have to provide development services that coordinate with the financial products. So for example, if you're a small business lender, you'll have to show that you provide small business technical assistance or small business accounting courses or something that helps a small business owner build its capacity. And then lastly, you may not be a government agency to be a CDFI. Now, once a CDFI has been certified, it's also going to have to be recertified on an annual basis. This allows the CDFI fund to assess whether your organization remains in compliance with certification requirements and to monitor any changes in the organization's financial or other types of data, such as change in board membership or change in accountability. The annual recertification process also allows us to get more information on the communities that you're serving, on the types of products and services that you're offering, as well as offers the opportunity to update any service areas. We have a lot of CDFIs that may start in one localized or specialized area, and then over time grow to incorporate more areas in their target market. So let's take a look at the CDFIs that are in Hawaii. And you all will know this map much better than I do. And if you can tell with all of the dots and the legend here, we have CDFIs that are headquartered here. We have CDFIs that may not be headquartered in Hawaii, but have made investment in Hawaii. As Representative Case said, there are 11 certified CDFIs, including 6 native CDFIs, with a total asset size of $643 million. The CDFI, let me go back. The CDFIs who are native CDFIs have assets that total more than $407 million. The Hawaii-based CDFIs have received 100 awards or allocations, which would be New Markets Tax Credit allocations, over the course of the last 15 years. The CDFI fund total for Hawaii's that are in CDFI, for CDFIs that are in Hawaii or investing in Hawaii, is $228.2 million. Now let's flip over to the next slide that actually shows the types of investments. So as you can see, nearly $176.3 million has been awarded through New Markets Tax Credits, and those were invested in 38 projects by CDEs or community development entities that are headquartered in both Hawaii and outside of the state. For both in-state and out-of-state CDFIs, the Financial Assistance Program, those recipients have reported making 1,737 loans and investments totaling more than $251 million. So while some of these numbers may not resonate with you all, once you get more familiar with the CDFI fund, you'll note that we report everything in terms of asset sizes of CDFIs, loan counts and amounts, and total projects and dollar amounts. This is one of the benefits of being certified, because that total data then gets rolled up into the impact for the nation, for the CDFI fund, and as well as for individual states and regions. So now I'm going to spend some time to talk about our actual programs. The first one is the CDFI program. The CDFI program provides monetary awards to invest in and build the capacity of CDFIs, empowering them to grow, achieve organizational sustainability, and contribute to the revitalization of their communities. There are two parts to the CDFI program. We have financial assistance awards that can be used for financial products, loan loss reserves, capital reserves, financial services, and for development services. The second part is technical assistance. And technical assistance can be used for capacity development that's integral to a CDFI's organizational sustainability and success. Or it can be used to support an organization's ability to become certified. So as I mentioned on the certification page, while you have to demonstrate that you meet all of those tests, many organizations that are just starting out, as long as they're a legal entity and they do have some financing, they're able to apply for technical assistance to build any areas that they're falling short within certification, or just to build their capacity in general. Just to give you a sense of the size and types of awards that we provide under the CDFI program, there are different averages. Our technical assistance awards average about $150,000, and then our financial assistance award can average anywhere from $750,000 to maybe $1.5 million, depending on the number of qualified applicants. But in total, in fiscal year 2021, CDFI award recipients reported originating loans or investments totaling more than $38.7 billion. And this is part of the leveraging that Representative Case mentioned at the top. CDFIs take our public dollars and pair them with private sector dollars in order to turn that $1 million grant into an $8 million project or more. You'll also see that other types of loans were reported: $12 billion in consumer loans, $10.7 billion in home improvements, and $8.1 billion for businesses. In our last funding round, 265 CDFIs received over $180 million in financial assistance awards. In addition, we gave out $24 million in technical assistance awards to 191 organizations. Our next funding round will take place in fiscal year 2022, and that's going to open this winter. So if you haven't signed up for our emails, our Gov Delivery emails, and I'll have our website information at the end, you'll want to do that so you can stay abreast of all of our program developments. Next, I'll move on to our native initiatives. The Native Initiatives Program was created to increase opportunities for Native American, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian communities to access credit, capital, and financial services by creating or expanding CDFIs primarily serving those communities, and these groups we refer to as Native CDFIs. The NACA program, as we call it, the abbreviation for Native American CDFI Assistance Program, has a similar award component to the CDFI program, but with an exclusive focus on Native CDFIs. The performance results reported by NACA program award recipients in fiscal year 2021 show that Native CDFIs originated more than 7,000 loans or investments totaling $163 million based on portfolio activities of the previous year. And this includes nearly $40 million in business and micro enterprise loans, $31 million in home improvement and home purchase loans, and almost $36 million in consumer loans. The next program I'll turn to is our Bank Enterprise Award Program. The Bank Enterprise Award Program provides monetary awards to FDIC-insured banks and thrifts that demonstrate that they have increased their investments in support to CDFIs, or they have increased lending, investing, or service-related activities in the most economically distressed communities across the country. In October, our last funding round, the CDFI Fund made $26 million available for FDIC-insured institutions. Applications were due to the CDFI Fund on December 14th. This is our upcoming round, and we'll announce those awards in the spring of 2022. Next is the New Markets Tax Credit Program. The New Market Tax Credit Program attracts private investment by permitting individual and corporate investors to receive a tax credit against their federal income tax in exchange for making qualified equity investments, or QEIs, in specialized financial intermediaries called community development entities. This is when I said CDEs earlier. We have a lot of acronyms at the CDFI Fund, but CDEs are specifically for New Markets Tax Credit Program. So since the inception of the New Markets Tax Credit Program in 2000, the CDFI Fund has completed 17 allocation rounds and has made 1,354 awards totaling $66 billion in tax credit allocation authority. The calendar year of 2021 New Markets, for which $5 billion was made available, it closed on January 13th, and the CDFI Fund expects that we will announce those allocations in the fall of 2022. And I'm realizing that some of the Zoom things may be covering the numbers, or maybe my window's covering the numbers. So I'll be sure to get this presentation to Mitch when we're done. And so if folks want to have it and refer to it for reference, you'll be able to do that. So apologies if some of this is being cut off by the Zoom controls. Okay, next up we have the Bond Guarantee Program. And the CDFI Bond Guarantee Program was designed to respond to critical market needs by providing long-term, fixed-rate, low-cost capital to certified CDFIs so that they, in turn, can utilize the financing to spur economic growth and jumpstart community revitalization. Bonds issued through the program support CDFI lending and investment in underserved communities by providing long-term capital. Long-term capital is something that the CDFI industry is in desperate need of. For the CDFIs who are actually participating, you'll know what I'm talking about in terms of most financing that CDFIs receive from banks is short-term, between 5 and 7 years, particularly when we're looking at small business lending. So the fact that a CDFI bond guarantee is available for 30 years is a huge benefit to the CDFI community. But unlike other CDFI programs, this program does not offer a grant or a tax credit allocation, but instead is a federal credit program. So bonds, of course, are debt instruments, and these must be repaid. That's one big distinction between this program and our other ones. But you can see below on this chart, on this slide, the impact that the Bond Guarantee Program has had across a number of asset classes, from charter schools to small businesses, daycare, nonprofit organizations, commercial real estate, you name it. Next program I'll go to is the Capital Magnet Fund. So the purpose of the Capital Magnet Fund is to attract private capital for affordable housing and economic development activities in economically distressed areas. Awardees under the Capital Magnet Fund are required to finance or support 10 times the grant amount in eligible project costs. We just did a round in 2021, and that round closed in November. We had up to $380 million available for awards to certified CDFIs, as well as nonprofit affordable housing organizations. This is the highest level of awards that have been made available under any Capital Magnet Fund round. And it's important to note that in addition to CDFIs, as I just said, that affordable housing developers can also apply for these fundings. We're going to do another round in 2022, and that is expected to open this spring. Now, I also note that in Hawaii, Capital Magnet Fund has generated 59 affordable housing units. We do have data for our other programs, but I wanted to highlight that this is one of the programs where partnerships really come into play, where CDFIs or other community organizations can find nonprofit developers and work specifically on affordable housing or economic development related projects within a community. And then the last program that I'll cover is our small dollar loan program. Now, the small dollar loan program is a newly launched program that helps certified CDFIs address the issue of expanding consumer access to mainstream financial institutions and provides alternatives to high-cost small dollar loans that are prevalent in low-income communities. Through this program, we provide awards to CDFIs for loan loss reserves, and that can help defray the cost of a new or existing small dollar loan program, or for technical assistance, which can be used for technology, staff support, and other costs associated with establishing and maintaining a small dollar loan program. The first round was announced in September, and we had a total of $10.8 million in small dollar loan program funds, and we gave that to 52 CDFIs. That included one Hawaii-based CDFI. We anticipate opening the next round in spring of this coming year. So I've covered everything. We have a slew of programs at the CDFI Fund that if you are a CDFI or looking to be a CDFI or you're partnering with the CDFI, there is a program that will likely provide some flexible capital for you to develop whatever project, from consumer lending all the way to charter schools and community facilities. So I'll flip to the next slide that has our contact information. And let me see. If you see what I see, I need to move this out the way. So you can find us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Twitter. I'll also put our website in the chat. And if there are any questions, I think we have time for that. But Mitch, I'll defer to you for how you want to move forward. So thank you all again. And thank you, Representative Case, for the opportunity to discuss the CDFI Fund.